What's up, everybody? This is Dominic Bonamici, aka Mr. Second Passport, and today we're going to cover rental prices and the overall market in Buenos Aires, Argentina, one of the definite hotspots here to be an expat in South America. So, why Buenos Aires? Well, it's one of the few places in Latin America that actually has seasons, fall, winter, spring, summer. A lot of people like that, even though it's reversed. So it works well if you're a snowbird. It's hot down here when it's cold up in North America. So that might work for you. Also, very friendly to foreigners, I've found in Buenos Aires, and they have a great English level down here. At least comparatively to most other Latin countries, it's a lot, especially with the young people. A lot of people speak pretty dang good English. Um, Especially compared to countries like Brazil, Peru, Colombia, and most of these other places down here. It's inexpensive with all the hyperinflation that's been going on the last 20 years or so. It's pretty expensive if you have a pension in U.S. dollars or European or Canadian currency. Uh, Obviously, all the good, cheap wine and beef you can drink and eat down here in Argentina, very high quality. It's also one of the few countries down here with snow sports like skiing, and it's also on the other side very near Brazil, a country a lot of us love and totally different than Argentina. So how do rentals work down here? Well, it's kind of a double standard. With Argentinians, it's very strict. You're asked for multiple months of proof of employment, pay stubs. It's often a 2-year contract you have to sign with a 1 month worth of rental deposit that you have to pay at the initial acceptance. Uh, Prices are slightly negotiable, but I found with foreigners, you can often rent under the table and avoid most of those other requirements that Argentinians require from other Argentinians. Just being that North American or European foreigner really helps and gives an automatic sense of trust to the local, and they will often circumvent most of those other requirements that they require from local renters. It's just the way it is, some things you got to take advantage of. It's not like the U.S., for instance, where it's usually rented with the white line with the kitchen appliances. It's not here. Usually, when you get a long-term rental, it's with no furniture at all. You have to furnish it yourself. That's the cheapest rentals I'm talking about. There are furnished rentals as well, places like Airbnb, but you're going to pay a lot more for those comparatively, usually. Parking spots are usually not included in the price you see online or when you're shown the property, so it's something you definitely want to ask about. They're definitely coveted. So, what are the prices like entering 2021 here, 2020, 2021? From about 45 minutes from the city center, I have a friend who rented what I find to be a very acceptable place, 1 bedroom suite with a kitchen. Like it's this kind of a small house or a duplex, one side of a duplex for $120 a month. But that's 45 minutes from the city center. Or within the city center, or in the areas I'm about to outline, the best places here in town, in a newer building with an elevator, and usually a guard, 24-hour guard, they start around 300 a month for what I've found to be acceptable places in the nicer parts of Buenos Aires, where us foreigners generally like to live. But in that 300 or any price you're quoted online or in person, it's usually not included. It's kind of customary down here for the expenses, they call them, or the condominium fees to not be included, or the association fees to not be included in the price they quote you. And it's usually less than $100 a month unless you get into the really luxury end of the market. So how to find the best rentals? According to my local friends and the way I found, two websites, zonaprop.com.ar and mercadolibre.com.ar has the most selection, and that's where the locals go right now to find the best rentals out there, as well as properties for sale. Where to live in BA? That's what the locals call it down here in BA, Buenos Aires. Um, for me, it comes down. For me, I like Belgrano right here in the north part. Pretty much this line, this red line here north, is uh, is much better to live than this line south. Down this line south, you'll have the center of town where the obelisco is, the famous pointy thing, and La Boca and the port and the Retiro area, you know, where a lot of discos might be to go out and bar hopping at night and stuff. But it's not a very savory place to live. All this area down here, Barracas, and in the south, La Boca, the port, Retiro, this area here, it's called like Via 13 or 33 or something. This whole area here, this port area is not nice at all. Starting here in Recoleta and Palermo, they're very centric. But if you want something very nice, I'd live anywhere over here. Uh, I would prefer here Belgrano. It's just a little bit more quiet, and it's still on the metro line, so you can get anywhere without a car you need to go in Buenos Aires really quickly with the metro. And if you want even something a little bit nicer and a little bit more quiet, I would suggest this area called Vicente Lopez. It's right on the water, and it's a very nice area, very quiet, but much more quiet, and it's still on the metro line, so you can get anywhere you need to be pretty quickly. So these four areas here is where I would focus on. It's where most foreigners want to live anyway, and I wouldn't really bother with anything outside of that area. And what about weekend getaways? Because Buenos Aires, it's a big, sprawling city, but there's a lot of nice things to do nearby. Like one thing is the beaches. There's Punta del Este in Uruguay, which is a ferry ride and a few hours away, or a 4 hour drive, 4.5 hour drive away, where most of the Argentinians go, is this beach Mar del Plata. So Buenos Aires doesn't have beach itself, but it's near the beach, if that's something you like. Also, what a lot of people don't realize, what a lot of locals like to do, I got a local friend that goes out almost every weekend to this area called Tigre, this town called Tigre, which is right on the river, a short drive from Buenos Aires. It's like the Venice of the Americas. It's a river town on the river that's kind of made canals out of the streets, and you can rent a kayak. It's awesome, and you can just kayak around right up to the bars and have a beer right there on the water with your friends. It's a pretty cool local thing to do. Also, there's the big waterfalls, Falls de Iguazu, which is also a good little drive away, several hours from Buenos Aires, right on the Paraguay-Brazil border. One of the biggest, most amazing waterfalls in the Americas for sure. Right up there with Angel Falls in Venezuela and Niagara in North America. It's definitely something to see at least once in your life. What's the cost of living like in Buenos Aires? Well, I collaborated with a few locals on this, local friends of mine, and I would concur. A rent for like a decent one-bedroom studio and a nice tower with an elevator and guard, you're looking for, for one or two people, you're looking at starting around 300 and up, or a decent two-bedroom starting around 500 in the areas I outlined previously, in the nicer areas of town. Electric bills can be around 50 a month. Water can be in the single digits. Gas it's with the line, not with tanks like in other parts of Latin America. It's about 40 bucks, can run about 40 bucks a month. Internet, about 10 bucks a month for unlimited. Cell phone, about 10 bucks for unlimited. Parking, if you need to rent a parking place, about 60 bucks a month. But that's one of the great things about BA, great metro system. You really don't need a car to get around. A lunch in the street in Almuerzo, you're looking at about $4 once you translate it over from pesos. For about a month, you're looking at about 400, 450 a month. That's if you eat out occasionally and cook in the rest of the time. It's a pretty relaxed, comfortable food budget. You can probably do it a lot less. Health insurance for like a 30-year-old, you're looking at about $60 a month. For a 55-year-old, you're looking at 150. Now there is a free option down here for anyone. Doesn't matter if you're a foreigner or not, but there can be long wait times and maybe the service isn't quite as good as you're used to. That's why a lot of people opt for the private insurance option, so they can go to the private clinics as well and maybe get a little bit faster service. Just something to think about. The public transport for the month, you might be looking at maximum $100. So, you know, for about $1,000 for a single person a month, or $1,500 for a couple, you can live in one of the nicest areas of Buenos Aires and have a very comfortable life. Not really, you won't feel like you're skimping too much, really. Now, what about the black market? How does that work? You know, uh, in the last 15, 20 years, Argentina has had a tremendous amount of inflation. Last time I visited 10 years ago or so, it was 3 to 1 pesos to the dollar. Now the official bank rate is 63 to 1. That's the official rate you get if you go to a bank. But there's a black market rate where if you take $1, you can get 84 pesos for it. How do you get that? Well, I can only say what the locals do, and then you decide what you want to do it. You know, this, I'm not telling you what to do. If you do use credit cards down here, you're going to be paying for things at the official bank rate, the lower rate. And what happens if you have pesos and you want to exchange it back to U.S. dollars? If you exchange it at a official bank, they will give you the 63 to 1 rate, but they will tack on a 30% tax. So it's going to take around 84 pesos, about the same as if you exchanged in the black market, to get back to $1 in return. So what do locals do? I can only say what the locals do, and that is they go to casas de cambio. It's like exchange houses. They are labeled in the street and everything, so I don't know how it works, how they do it exactly legally, but they must have their deals. I don't know, but they're clearly labeled in the streets, and you just walk up to them. And I would ask a local friend to recommend you one. They're all over the place, but some are obviously probably more trustworthy than others. So I would definitely maybe give a slightly better rate. I would ask a local where they go to exchange, and they would, or a foreigner that's been in Buenos Aires, and that's where I would go to one they recommend. And you can bring into the country up to 10,000 US dollars without problems as of 2020. If you bring in more than that, you definitely could have an issue when entering the country. When you take money out of ATMs here, it's going to be at the official rate, for instance, the official bank rate, not the better black market rate. So just something to think about to maximize your bang for your buck when you're down here. I'm Mr. Second Passport. Thanks for listening this long. And if you like this, be sure to hit the like button. Okay, this is the website Zona Prop, where you can see the different rentals for available. You can see the price here, and this is in Argentinian pesos, and the expenses is the association fee. You can see below it. So you know it's not usually included. You can click on one of these listings, and just like in the States, you get the full deal, but it's in Spanish. You know, the meters squared and how many bedrooms and baths and the amenities. This building here has you know, a gym, a pool, security, and you can see the different photos here. So at the official bank rate, 19,000 pesos a month, you're looking at 300 US dollars, plus the association fee, which was on this one not listed, but probably under, I'm guessing probably under $100. You can see the different photos on here. You can see this is definitely newer construction, and pretty nice place in Belgrano, one of the areas I recommended earlier in this in this presentation. You can see you have a little rooftop area to enjoy, a balcony, and not bad for $300 a month. Rooftop pool, pretty nice, That's your little layout of the area there as well. You have the one bedroom, one bath, full kitchen, completely empty, no furniture for and use of the common areas for 300 a month.